So welcome to our first interview for PD in a Pocket tonight. And once again, I'm doing it with an educator, and it's Kristine Behler. Is that how I pronounce your name? Behler?
Behler. Yes.
Behler.
My husband is German. So
who's from Young in New South Wales. So Chris, just before we start, can I ask how long you've been an educator for?
I haven't been doing it for that long. I've only been doing it for 8 years.
Only 8 years.
We've got Rosie that's slightly older than me and has been doing it all her working life. So,
wow.
35, 40 years, something like that she's been doing it. So I feel like a real tiddler.
A baby in the scene.
Yes.
Okay, so I understand that you provide all the food to everyone that you care for. Yeah, is that right?
I don't do formula, baby formula. But yeah, aside from that, I provide the water. I use a drinker, which I just got from Bunnings, like for $15 or something. And that has boiled water in it. Because I live in rural New South Wales, at one point we had no one in the service that lived in town. And various children would get the runs from drinking town water. So it's always boiled water, and I keep 2 jugs of boiled water in the fridge to back up. The handy thing about that is it's already boiled, ready for baby bottles if I need it for that.
Okay, but you don't do formula, yeah?
I don't provide the formula. I make the formula up.
Right, but you won't provide it. Yep.
Because the parents can change it or whatever at their discretion, and then they're knowing exactly where it is. So, they usually just give me a tin of formula.
But you cook lunches,
we do breakfast sometimes, we do fruit break. We'll do that. That's around, say, 10. So it can be any time from 9:30 to 11:30, but, usually around 10. Yep. And then we'll do lunch. I usually do lunch a bit late because then they're hungry and they eat. And then we'll do afternoon tea. And then if they're still hungry and I have a couple of kids here that are late, they may have something around the 5 o'clock mark as well.
Right.
So,
okay.
Yes.
And so given that you don't have to as an educator provide food, and lots of educators don't, what made you decide to actually, do the provision of food?
There was a number of different reasons. When I first started, I had children that arrived here that had Tic Tac mints for breakfast. And, and it's really hard parenting now. And there's a lot of stresses on parents. If they can relax and know that the children are eating healthy while they're here, that's great. They're going to have to do lunch boxes from when they start kindy to when they finish high school. So why do you have to have a lunchbox already? Let's make things a little easier for the parents, a bit more interesting for the children. It provides me with a tax deduction, and I live alone. So since I live alone, tonight I'm having tortellini. Spinach.
Let me guess, did you give that tortellini to the children today for lunch?
Yes, and I was lucky to get any back. So people don't like doing food because of the waste, but it's the way you handle it.
Right.
So
and do you charge more because you're providing food?
No. And also there's another part to it too, is that you've got to be competitive, and all of the childcare centres here provide food.
Right. So you think that it helps to get that edge with...
I'm doing the same thing as the other childcare. It's only the preschool that doesn't. My grocery bill is like 80% tax deductible.
Good.
And that also includes anything you buy for cooking, and the electricity you're using for cooking, or the gas you're using for cooking, right? That's all tax deductible. Then on top of that, I know the kids are not eating a sugar-filled snack right through the day. What they're getting is healthy.
Yep.
And the other part of that is that no one's getting jealous because they're all eating the same thing.
And have you done it like
this
jealousy? Since you started it as an educator, or did you start?
I've always done it.
You've always done it. Yep. Okay. I like the idea that they're not eating sugar-filled snacks, because it means you're not having to deal with the behaviour that can often come from that.
Yeah, we do have some. Look, it's not all total health foods.
Yep.
And depending on how I go with allergies, because we all know in this business, you're always changing your client base. They grow up, they go to school.
Yep.
When you have allergy children or other issues, you may not be able to buy. Like, I've been through stages where I've had to cook everything myself. At the moment, we've got a boy that's just going to preschool, and he's learning how to, and he's about to start school next year, and he's learning how to open packets. So we do a lot of little open packets. So
Sure.
that's a commercial thing. And it's the same thing
Yep.
as what he's eating at home. So,
yep. And so do you cook, everything from scratch? Do you cook once a week? Do you cook as you go, or do you cook while the children are there?
It varies. Mostly I cook while the kids are there.
Right.
It's not really that big a drama. And it's the same sort of thing that they would normally be going through at the parental home or with the grandparents or whatever.
Yeah,
So,
except parents and grandparents don't have 4 children there while they're trying to.
Yeah,
cook.
you didn't live at my parents' place. Yeah, it's not that hard, honestly. When you
how do you
get into a
actually
routine?
What do you do? Like, if you're going to cook lunch, do you just make sure they've got other activities they're engaged in?
Yes. Either they've got another activity to engage in, or they will join me and help make lunch.
So talk to me about them helping you. How do you manage to
First thing
that?
you do is wash the hands. They get up at my bench and they'll stand on chairs. So at different chairs according to their height, so that they're relatively similar height. Sometimes they'll use knives, dinner knives or butter knives to cut up things. Yep. And, it might be just capsicum, it might be tomato, it might be just cheese, but they're getting a sense of accomplishment.
Yeah.
They're doing a hand strengthening activity. I had a little girl come through here. She was only a casual, didn't come here regularly, so I was very hamstrung in what I could do with her. And when she started school, she had a lot of trouble with hand strength. She spent an awful lot of time on computers at home.
Right. Okay.
So since then, because we're family daycare, because we're so connected with our families, we have better opportunity for feedback, and we have more control than anybody else.
Yeah.
So because I've had that, I do a lot more hand strengthening exercises than I used to. Okay. So that part of that is the cutting veggies, cutting fruit for our fruit break. They're going to get a piece of fruit for their fruit break from, kinder to year 12. So we rarely do that here. What we usually do is that we will have 3 or 4 pieces of fruit that we cut up. Depending on how many kids, there'll be at least a piece of fruit per child, sometimes a bit extra if it's only small. Cut it all up, and then we'll have it in a fruit cone, which is like an ice cream cone. But instead of filled with ice cream, it's filled with fruit salad.
What a great idea.
And yogurt on top. So
that's great.
Yeah, they think it's the bee's knees. And we take that outside and sit in the sun sometimes and eat it in winter. In summer, we'll go outside and sit in the shade.
Fair enough.
We also do fruit kebabs.
Yeah.
And they can make their own. I've got fancy parfait glasses for them too, just to give it a bit of a pizzazz.
Excitement. Yep.
It encourages them to eat.
What about allergies?
Allergies, I've only just finished up a peanut allergy. So that was fairly intense because she had more than just the peanut allergy. She was very touchy on a lot of foods. So it was going through and reading all the biscuit packets, because you've got to keep them as close to normal as possible. Otherwise, it's not fair on the children.
Yep. And so did you make your entire house peanut free?
Yes.
Yeah.
But it's only 4 kids. It's only 5 kids.
But like, did you have peanut butter in your house?
I have wow butter.
Right, which is?
which is made from roasted soy.
Right.
And you can get it from Woolies. So it's not a big drama.
Right. Okay.
I put a note I talked to all of the parents here so they knew what was going on.
Yep.
And I put a sign on the front gate because this child was casual. They weren't there all the time. So I would have a sign on the front gate saying, nut-free day today. Please tell me. Please tell me straight away if they've eaten peanuts.
Yep, sure.
I even sent home some wow butter because I managed to get it on a really good special. It was like reduced because no one was buying it, I suppose. I don't know. Anyway, I managed to get enough so that I could send home some with the biggest peanut butter lover. So he just had wow butter instead of peanut butter. And honestly, you can't taste the difference.
So talk to me about food safety. You ever scared of, probably not with your background of being a trainer, or maybe more?
No, it is something you keep in mind all the time. Because of the background of having actually taught food safety, I understand HACCP, which is Hazard Analysis Critical Control Points, which is really, it's just risk assessments for food. Right. We have to do risk assessments whenever they're playing with anything, whenever we go anywhere. It's the same thing with food. And we're all doing it because if you've got lunch boxes, you're doing a risk assessment on if that food is going to be bad before they eat it.
Yep.
Same thing. When I go shopping, I make sure I don't stop somewhere on the way home, and you use the proper bags, and you always make sure you've got something frozen in so that it acts as an ice brick.
Yep.
There's lots of different points to it, but it's mostly logical.
Yep. And do you do food safety training on a regular basis? How would you do that?
The service that I work for, Country Children's Early Learning, they have a good food safety program right at the start, so that I got trained in that before I did anything.
So talk to me about what mealtime looks like at your place, because I can imagine, a mealtime when people open up lunch boxes is quite different than a mealtime when you're preparing
I don't think it would be that different.
No?
We work like a unit most of the time. The younger ones, it's a bit harder. You can't get the 4-month-old to really understand. But it's not normally much of a hassle. You'll say something, you warn them beforehand a couple of times that you're going to go in and have lunch, right? So then everybody comes in. We've been outside, or we'll come in. Usually we'll be outside. We'll come in and they'll be doing an activity while I finish up lunch, right? Sometimes they'll go wash their hands straight away so they can help me prepare lunch. One person gets to be designated as waiter so that they can put the plates on the table. Another person sometimes gets designated as knife and fork person.
Yep.
So because that way it's just evened out. Everybody gets their own drink. We're all colour coordinated for plates, knives and forks and cups. They all get their own drink except for the 2-year-old who's not quite up to it yet. She's only just started drinking at it. She's not quite 2 yet. They'll sit at the table. If they're hungry and a bit rambunctious, waiting for their lunch to get finished up, I'll give them a slice of cheese each. Works wonders.
Yep.
And with the horrible plastic cheese, that's another hand exercise because I only open it as far as they need me to open it. Usually not quite as far as they need me to open it. So they've got to work at it a little more, and that slows them down, gives them something to do, and then we'll sing songs while they're at the table.
Yep.
My coordinator got me onto a mindfulness exercise. While we're eating, we'll often say, and what was your favourite part of the day? And that'll go around the table. You can't say it yourself. You've got to ask someone else first.
Yeah, okay.
It's hilarious because the one that really wants to spill everything has to ask other people and keeps waiting for someone to ask them, so we'll sit at the table. Sometimes we'll have, sometimes we'll make your own. So it'll be a long tray with nippers and they'll go through and put their own stuff on their sandwich or burger or whatever they're having, or pizza, and then stick it in the oven. Sometimes we'll just sit down. But yeah, it works quite well. And because the other children are eating and they're eating the same thing, it helps the picky eaters to eat.
Yeah, for sure.
I will still resort to aeroplanes and choo-choo trains in the tunnel, but it does help. And you have to be realistic about how much they eat.
What would you say your current group's favourite meals that you cook are?
Pasta's always a favourite. Pizza, they love pizza. And if you call anything meat lovers, because they hear that on the TV, they think that's amazing.
You can see that you're very adaptable to what they want, and you don't have preconceived ideas of what you want to cook for them.
So look, the preconceived ideas is that I need, in the morning, they need to have fruit.
Yep.
Yogurt is not necessary if they eat cheese or milk later on, right? So so they need the fruit, they need the dairy, they need the carbs, they need the veggies, they need the protein. That's my preconceived idea.
We can throw that around, like a pretty good diet to me.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
They love tomatoes, they love cucumber, they love lettuce.
So can I just ask, if you had one piece of advice for other educators who currently aren't cooking, what do you think that the main thing that you get out of doing the food for them is?
It's a fun activity. It's so nice sitting around the table together. I have never had so many compliments on my food. Mostly they're from,
they haven't had a lot of food in their lives yet.
My husband only ever complained about it, so I'm just in 7-7. But I keep meals simple.
Chris, thank you so much for sharing, how you're working at your family daycare with us. I think that it's always good for us to talk to different educators about the different ways that we do things, because everyone does it so different. You might think, this is normal, and then someone says, no, I've never cooked a meal with children.
Yeah, but it's each to their own, and everybody has their different strengths. We are so lucky. We are the elite because we're working. When I did my training at a childcare centre, I was already working, and I looked at what they were doing, and they were jumping through hoops to try and get it down so that the numbers were only, so that they could actually get a small number of children with the particular educator and do a science experiment or something, right?
Yep.
I get that all the time.
Yeah.
Their premium ratio is ours normal.
For sure.
And our connection with the families is just so strong. Actually, one of the mums here today had to pick up a child and take them for immunisation. And I knew she didn't have time for lunch, so I threw a cup of soup when I grabbed the child back off her.
So, isn't that nice?
They're lovely people. They're very lovely.
And I'm sure they love having you as an educator. So thank you very much for talking to us tonight.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I hope I encourage more to try it at least.